Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission here, well, it's pretty simple. We take a whole stack of source materials, really dig into them, and pull out the key insights. Basically, we give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're tackling a really profound and frankly very challenging case. It's about domestic violence and murder, and it unfolded recently in the UK. We've gathered quite a bit of material for this deep dive: court transcripts, official statements from the Crown Prosecution Service, various news reports. They all detail a very recent high-profile conviction. Our goal here is just to walk you through how things happened, the really disturbing dynamics underneath, and how justice was pursued. We're presenting the facts as they are in these sources, staying impartial, just trying to help you get the full complex picture. So let's unpack this tragic story. Okay, so we start with Kulsuma Akter. She was 27 when she died, and Habibur Rahman Masum, he was 26. They actually met and got married back in Bangladesh. Then in March 2022, they made the big move to the UK. Masum, he came over on a student visa, studying marketing at the University of Bedfordshire.
He'd already done an English Lit degree, apparently.
Right, and Kulsuma came with them.
Yeah. So initially they lived in Dunstable, then moved to Burnley. But eventually Kulsuma ended up living with her brother in Oldham. She got a job at Park's Bakery there.
And what's really striking, even right at the beginning are these incredibly fast, quite chilling signs of control and actual threats. Like take August 4th, 2022. So Kulsuma blocks his messages, his reaction. He travels all the way to Oldham with a knife.
Wow.
Yeah. He's seen hanging around the tram station near her home. Later, the police find him semi-conscious. But it's what he said at the hospital that's really alarming.
What was that?
He told the officers he felt like he would kill her, that when they argued, he felt like killing her or himself.
Goodness.
He was advised, see a GP, but he never did.
That is incredibly stark, especially so early on, right after moving to the UK. What does an incident like that, with such direct threats, what does that tell us about those early warning signs? How fast can this stuff really show up?
Well, that's a really crucial point, because it's not just like a one-off argument, is it? What we're seeing here is a classic, very rapid escalation. The immediate jump to threats, the following her, and especially saying he felt like killing her. These aren't just words spoken in anger. They're really strong signs of, possessiveness and a willingness to use intimidation. These are foundational elements in abusive relationships, and they often show up really quickly, sometimes within months, just like they did here. Then fast forward to July 2023. Kulsuma's pregnant now, there's an argument, and he screams, "Talaq," 3 times.
Right, the Islamic term for divorce.
Exactly. And she believed, based on that they were divorced. So she leaves. But then Masum starts relentlessly messaging her, calling her, threatening crazy things, and he keeps asking about a kitchen knife.
A kitchen knife.
Yeah, which, really worried her family. Understandably, they ended up calling the police.
So this pattern is already there. Threats, control, even talk of weapons, long before the final tragedy. It really sets a disturbing stage. Okay, let's move to November 2023. Things seem to escalate really dramatically then. Masum's controlling behavior, it had apparently got much worse. He was regularly checking Kulsuma's phone. She needed his permission just to see her own family.
That level of isolation is a key tactic.
Yeah. And then, November 23rd, 24th, Kulsuma's on maternity leave. She gets a text from a colleague. Just a text. But this apparently incensed Masum, sent his jealousy into, quote, overdrive. What followed was a violent assault. It's horrific. He threw her phone against the wall, then slapped her face while she was holding their baby son.
Oh, that's awful.
And then he holds a knife to her throat. Makes a direct death threat. He says, "I'm going to murder you, and the police will be taking me. Tell me what your relationship is with him, or I will kill you."
Her reaction, though, in that terrifying moment, it was incredibly sensible, very brave. She immediately called the police, locked herself in the bathroom. And her statement to the police, it was clear. She said she was very frightened. She believed he'd carry out his threats. And she explicitly said she didn't want to stay with him anymore.
That level of fear where she genuinely thinks he'll kill her, it's just devastating to hear. And what's particularly heartbreaking is this prediction she made. She told her sister-in-law, basically, "I will be killed. You might find my dead body someday."
Oh my God.
And she asked her sister-in-law to look after her son if Masum killed her.
She knew. She felt it coming.
It seemed so. And even though Masum was arrested and detained after that incident, he immediately ignored his bail conditions, called his brother from custody, told him to contact Kulsuma.
And this just highlights a really crucial, difficult point about domestic abuse cases. You know, even when the police step in, even when there are conditions like bail, a really determined, cunning perpetrator can often find ways around them. The system tries to support, and it's good she was placed in a refuge. That was the right step.
Right.
But the challenge of totally protecting someone from a person who's that fixated, that manipulative, it's just immense. Kulsuma's fear, her plea to her sister-in-law, it really hammers home the reality of her situation. Victims often do have this terrifying foresight.
And what follows, sadly, is just this relentless, really chilling stalking campaign. You know, despite Masum claiming he loved Kulsuma, saying he was depressed, our sources show he was actually active on Tinder during this time, trying to get a date.
Unbelievable, the disconnect.
Exactly. And his threats, they get even more direct, more terrifying. He messages Kulsuma's brother, saying, "If I don't get my family back by the first attack, I will kill everyone." Then sends a Snapchat directly to Kulsuma saying, "I will kill 5 of them."
Just pure psychological torment.
Totally. Kulsuma told her social worker, Amy Tucker, that these threats left her feeling, quote, mentally disturbed and distressed. She was so worried about her family. And the level of control, the manipulation here, it's just escalating so fast. Then he starts physical tracking. Travels from Oldham to Bradford. He's seen loitering near the refuge on the evening of March 28th, 2024.
It's closing in.
Yeah. And his use of technology is particularly chilling. March 29th, he sends Kulsuma a Snapchat video. It's a Bradford interchange railway station. There's a message with it. Then, just 20 minutes later, another Snapchat video. This time, it shows the outside of her refuge.
Oh, that's cold. Using Snapchat so the messages disappear.
Exactly. It confirmed it for her. He tracked her down. How common is this kind of really meticulous, tech-aided stalking in these situations?
It's increasingly common, unfortunately. Technology has become deeply, deeply intertwined with coercive control. Snapchat's disappearing messages, like you said, or those fake GP texts we're about to discuss. These are just random tricks. They're calculated tools designed to undermine trust, create constant fear, maintain that control. It makes it incredibly hard for victims to feel safe, or even for authorities to build a clear evidence trail sometimes. So when Kulsuma reported these new messages to social services, they knew straight away she wasn't safe there anymore. They quickly arranged for her to move to another refuge.
Okay, so steps were being taken again.
Yes, but the tragic irony is just gut-wrenching. She was scheduled to move probably that Monday or Tuesday, but Masum managed to trick her into coming out on the Saturday afternoon.
How did he do that?
It was an elaborate plan. So April 2nd, he goes back to Bradford, buys a new mobile phone so she wouldn't recognize the number, then sends 5 pretty convincing false messages, made them look like they were from GP health centers, about vaccinations for their son.
Using the baby.
Precisely. He even told his brother to lie for him, to tell Kulsuma he was actually in Spain.
He's building this whole false reality for her.
Exactly. When those text messages didn't work, on April 3rd and 4th, he shifted gears. He started making arrangements to get a taxi to France, even though he didn't have a visa. Clearly planning an escape route if he attacked Kulsuma that Saturday.
Wow. What becomes so chillingly clear here is just the level of premeditation, the calculating behavior. This wasn't spontaneous at all. It was meticulously planned out. So we come to April 6, 2024, the day of the murder. And the events unfold with this calculated precision that's just deeply disturbing. Masum gets back to Bradford just after 11:30 in the morning. He's armed with a knife. He then loiters around the refuge area for 3.5 hours just waiting. All while Kulsuma believed he was in Spain because of his brother's lie.
That's crucial context. She felt safe enough to leave.
Exactly. At 3 p.m., she leaves the refuge with a friend, Jordan Palmer. They were going to buy some henna for Eid. When Kulsuma gets to the bazaar, Masum meets her there. It seems clear she tried to turn back, head towards the refuge. CCTV footage captured him walking with her. They stop outside a shop. He moves their son's pram. He's seen waving a finger at her, like arguing.
Right.
Then, at 3:16 p.m., he pulls a knife out of his pocket and attacks her, right there, in full view of everyone.
Well, she brought daylight.
Yes. He deliberately targeted her front, stabbed her. When she fell, he stamped on her, and then finally, he cut her throat.
The brutality is just unimaginable. The injuries, as you'd expect, were horrific. Kulsuma had 26 separate wounds, 1 to her neck, 1 right through her face, an 8-centimeter deep wound in her upper chest, 12 other stab wounds, plus 11 incised wounds.
Oh my God.
She had defensive wounds too on her left hand and arm. She tried to fight back, But the wound to the neck, it cut through her windpipe, her jugular vein. It was unsurvivable. And that clearly shows his intent was absolutely to kill her. And after this incredibly violent attack, Masum's behavior was, again, chillingly calm.
Oh, so.
He just, quote, calmly walked off, showed apparently no interest in his son, the son he claimed to miss so desperately.
The excuse he used.
Exactly. He threw the knife away in a nearby car park. People tried to help Kulsuma. A Dr. Sulman and his wife saw what happened. They rushed over, did their best, but the wounds were just too severe, which tragically was Masum's plan all along.
So his focus immediately turned to escape.
Immediately, he walked to the city center, caught a bus, made a 10-minute WhatsApp call to his mother, transferred 800 pounds to his brother, booked an Uber to Birmingham, then got on the bus. CCTV showed him again, not obviously distressed, and he put his phone on airplane mode, trying to avoid being tracked.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Completely. His attempts to get away continued. He traveled south, ended up in Aylesbury, bought new clothes, a new phone, changed his appearance, shaved his beard, cut his hair, wore different clothes.
Tried to disappear.
Yes, his capture was almost bizarrely accidental. He has this recurring issue where his jaw dislocates. It happened while he was yawning, so he had to go to Stoke Mandeville Hospital.
Seriously?
Yes. He gave a false name there, but eventually police caught up with him, arrested him in the hospital car park in the early hours of April 9th.
The meticulous planning right up to the escape attempt and then that cold attachment. It's just horrifying. So the pursuit of justice for Kulsuma Akter, that process began. Masum initially pleaded guilty, but only to manslaughter and possessing the knife. That was June 5th, 2025.
Right, a lesser charge.
Exactly. But the prosecution quite rightly rejected that plea. They went ahead with a trial for murder. And in June, he was convicted, not just of murder, but also the earlier assault by beating, making the threat to kill, and the stalking.
All the prior offenses, too.
Yes. The sentencing then happened on July 22nd, 2025 at Bradford Crown Court. Mr. Justice Cotter presided.
And the judge's comments at sentencing were incredibly stark. They really paint a clear picture of Masum and the crime. He got life imprisonment, minimum term of 28 years, minus the time already served, about 467 days. Concurrent sentences for the other charges. The judge described Masum as, and I quote, violent, self-centered, jealous, controlling, and coercive, with a firmly held view that your wife was not your equal and should do what you told her to do.
Powerful words.
Very. He also said Masum stole a precious young life in a brutal and merciless fashion because of your self-interest and refusal to accept Kulsuma's right to a life free from your violence and controlling behavior.
Yeah.
And significantly, the judge noted Masum showed no real remorse, only self-pity.
That lack of remorse is telling. The judge also highlighted a whole load of aggravating factors in this case, didn't he? What were some of the main takeaways from how the court viewed the premeditation and the domestic abuse aspect when deciding the sentence?
Yeah, the court's focus on those aggravating factors was absolutely key to the sentence length. The judge specifically pointed to Masum taking the knife to the scene beforehand, the long history of domestic abuse and stalking. He explicitly called the murder the most serious of domestic abuse offenses because it violated that fundamental trust and security within a relationship. The significant planning involved, the fact he breached his bail conditions, the sheer brutality, the sustained and excessively violent attack in a public place, and of course all the steps he took afterwards to try and get away.
Right. It all pointed to premeditation.
Exactly. It showed this wasn't some sudden loss of control. It was calculated. On the flip side, the judge found mitigating factors were very limited. Masum claimed moderately severe depression, but the judge ruled this seemed to stem from his own controlling behavior, not the other way around. And its contribution to the murder itself was considered very limited.
I see.
As for his future, the Home Office will look at deporting him about 36 months before his minimum term is up.
And the impact on Kulsuma's family. It's just immeasurable, isn't it? Her little boy will never know his mother. The family talks about a life sentence of grief with no release date.
It's heartbreaking.
Her sister-in-law, Manara Begum, she described how even simple things like cutting vegetables in the kitchen are now incredibly difficult because it reminds her of the stabbing. Her brother, Imran Hussein, talked about the sheer disbelief, the shock of getting that news, said he'll never recover. And a wider family statement called Masum a monster. They said Kulsuma's son is the only light in all this darkness.
It's hard to even comprehend their pain. Marie Walsh from the Crown Prosecution Service, she summed it up well. She called Masum a violent and dangerous man, who subjected Kulsuma to terrible violence and domestic abuse, described the murder as callous and shocking. And importantly, she also acknowledged the bravery of the public witnesses, like Dr. Solomon and his wife, the emergency services, and the police homicide team for their work in getting justice.
Yeah, that recognition feels important. So we've covered a lot of ground here, a really profound, very challenging journey through this case, from those early insidious signs of control, through the escalating violence, the sophisticated stalking, right up to the tragic end in the pursuit of justice.
Yeah, and I think the vital knowledge to take away from this deep dive really is understanding that insidious nature of coercive control, how domestic abuse can just escalate with terrifying speed. We've seen how crucial support systems like refuges are, but also, starkly, the immense challenges in keeping someone completely safe from a truly determined, cunning individual who is just bent on control and violence. This case is just such a stark reminder of the patterns, the indicators, and the devastating potential if this kind of abuse goes unchecked.
Which brings us to a really crucial final question for you, our listener, to think about. How can we, as communities, as systems, get better at identifying and intervening in these patterns of coercive control and domestic abuse before they reach such a tragic, irreversible point? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.